What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey, still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. You don't like it, you can have that seatbelt.
Alright, so I got a cool update here on Nintendo's newly secured development studios, Shiver Entertainment. But before we get things started, if you're into Nintendo Switch 2 content and you're not yet a subscriber to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscriber button. It's getting lonely. And let me know what you guys think in the comments section. So last year, Nintendo announced that it was going to be acquiring Shiver Entertainment. And Shiver actually has a long history of Nintendo ports going all the way back to Scribblenauts on the Nintendo Switch back in 2018. Also Mortal Kombat 11, Mortal Kombat 1, Hogwarts Legacy, and the like, right? Well, one of the most impressive third-party ports on the Nintendo Switch 2 is WWE 2K25. And this was developed entirely by Shiver Entertainment. And it's a very impressive game on the Switch 2. Like, it's one of those games where graphically, if you weren't being told that it was the Switch 2 version, you would have thought it was the PlayStation 5 version. Because even with the head-to-head visuals, there's not that much of a difference at all. Like, you pretty much have to nitpick. It's a very good game on the Switch 2. It's a shame that it's not at least a game key. It's digital only, which sucks, but that's not Shiver Entertainment's fault. It's a great port on the Switch 2, and I've actually I found some evidence that the game was being in development for Switch 2 at the very least since last July. So they had a good year or so to port this to Switch 2, and they did an amazing job. Now, I bet a lot of people are wondering, okay, so what is next for Shiver Entertainment? Well, I think I just found that out. So, one of the software engineers for Shiver Entertainment had this to say. So, first, they're talking about what they did on WWE 2K25. They don't say it, but you can tell from the description. It says, enabled the Nintendo Switch 2 version of a title to stand out among the other versions by leveraging its unique ability to allow for 8 simultaneous local players. Okay, so that's WWE 2K25. Now, here we get into the new Unannounced project. And it says, created and designed controller implementation for a AAA title on a brand new platform, Nintendo Switch 2. The proprietary engine had no previous implementation, which meant it had to be built entirely from the lowest level onward. So this is just a small sentence here, but it actually tells us a lot. So let me explain here. So first, this actually tells us a couple things. One, this is a multi-platform title. Now, how do I know this? It's because they said that it had to be built entirely from the lowest level onward. So that means that the game is not an exclusive title. That means that this game is a multi-plat title. And they're saying that the Switch 2 is the lowest end of what they had to adapt for this proprietary engine. So that's one thing. The second thing is that it uses a proprietary engine. So that means that this game is more than likely not running on Unreal Engine or anything like that. But I do have to say that sometimes they will put that something's a proprietary engine, even if it has Unreal Engine at its base, if they've did so many changes to it that it's almost like unrecognizable as that engine. Like, for example, what NetherRealm Studios did with Unreal Engine 3 on, say, Mortal Kombat 11 or Injustice 2. Yes, those games are technically still Unreal Engine 3, but they made so many changes and so many... They did so many changes and added so many things to that engine that it's pretty much virtually unrecognizable at Unreal Engine 3 at that point. So that could be what they're talking about here, but judging by the wording, it sounds like it's a fully proprietary engine. The third thing this tells us is that this is actually a current gen only game. And the reason I know this is because it's telling you that the Switch 2 was the lowest level, and it's saying built entirely from the lowest level onward. So that's telling you that the Switch 2 is the least powerful. So that rules out PlayStation 4. That rules out Xbox One. It probably rules out Steam Deck also, but who knows? They could just be talking about consoles here. But judging on this wording here, that means that this is a multi-platform, AAA, current gen game that's only coming out for presumably Switch 2, Xbox, and PlayStation 5, or maybe just Switch 2 and PlayStation 5, and probably PC. But it looks like this is a entirely brand new game. So this Shiver Entertainment's next project on the Switch 2, if this is going in order, will be a brand new game. It's not going to be a port of an existing title. So that's also good news because, you know, as impressive as WWE 2K25 is, it still launched months after the other versions. It wasn't too much long. It wasn't like it was like a year or two later, but it was quite a few months, 4 or 5 months after the other versions. So whatever this project is, it's going to be something entirely new and will presumably launch at the same time as the other versions. Now, what's also interesting about this, and what we can draw from this, that's a good thing, is that they're saying that they said they built entirely from the lowest level onwards. So that means that this development started with Switch 2 as a base and then went up. So what that means is that whatever game this is should run very well on the Nintendo Switch 2, because it was started on Switch 2, or Switch 2 was the base, and they went up from there. So that means two things. One, that means that since this game started development on Switch 2, that means that, and should run very well, that means that the other versions are potentially could run at a much higher frame rate. Like, say if the game is 30 frames per second on Switch 2, that means it's possibly 60 frames on the other systems, or if it's 60 frames on the Switch 2, maybe it's 120 frames on the other systems, or maybe it's 120 frames on everything, but the Switch 2 just has lower graphics settings. But it also could mean that if Switch 2 was the base design for the game, it could mean that all three versions look very similar. Who knows? There's multiple answers there. But the conclusion that you can draw from this posting is that Shiver Entertainment is making a new multi-plat, current gen only AAA game for Nintendo Switch 2. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments section.